Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Believe in Duke podcast. This is our NCAA tournament, ACC championship / NCAA tournament bracket reveal edition. I'm Steve Wiseman from the Raleigh News and Observer, the Duke beat writer for the paper, joined as always on the podcast by Sheldon Williams, the landlord. Sheldon, great weekend for the Blue Devils overall, right? It had to be a great weekend.
Yeah, it definitely is. Before I get into that, this is our 50th episode. Our 50th Big 50.
There we are.
Is that?
Where's the fireworks, baby?
Yep, episode.
We made it.
Yeah. But going back to your point, this weekend was great. The revenge tour has concluded.
Yes.
And now we can go on to March Madness.
That's right. We're here at Duke. Won 3 games in 3 days in Greensboro. We talked about the first 2 in the last episode when they beat Pitt and then Miami, getting revenge on Miami. And then the big revenge Saturday night, beating Virginia 59-49 as I wrote my lead. This time Duke left no doubt. 10-point win. It didn't come down to a last call at the end for a mistake to happen. Really took care of business in that game. So ACC champions, 22nd time in school history. Jon Scheyer is the first coach to ever win it as a player and a coach. Nobody's ever done that. Other people have had a chance. Sidney Lowe took NC State to the finals one time, but lost from he played for the Wolfpack course. But anyway, so that's a big deal. That's a big deal for Jon Scheyer. So I want to remind, before we go any further, remind everybody about our sponsor. The Believe in Duke podcast is sponsored by Bet Online, and now that it's NCAA tournament time, it's a good time to, if you're going to lay a wager. Of course, everybody wants to bet on the NCAA tournament. Bet Online remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from pro and college basketball to UFC, MMA, and more. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at Bet Online with live betting options, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. Bet Online is truly the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite leagues and events. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your rewards. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts. Yeah, so a historic night for the Blue Devils. Scheyer's only the third coach to win it in his first year as head coach at any level. He's never been a head coach before this year. Vic Bubas did it back for Duke in 1960. After he came over from NC State as an assistant, and then Bill Guthridge, who took over for Dean, obviously in 1998. He had Vince Carter. He had a pretty good group to work with that year. So.
Yeah, I mean, so you got some talent, but to kind of go on my little rant, how again was Jon Scheyer not coach of the year? This guy 16-0 at home. All right. He was 26-8 for the regular season, most wins by Duke first year, coach as well. He won the ACC tournament his first year. Like you said, he's the third person to do that, a player and a coach to do that. And then he ends the regular season on a 9-game win streak. All right. Also, he has a revenge games, including against B-Tech, NC State, Miami, Virginia to end the regular season. Then goes into the tournament, knocking off number 5 Pitt, number 1 Miami, and number 2 UVA. How is this guy not considered coach of the year? Like, this is baffling to me. I mean, when we're fully healthy, we're 18-1, and that 1 doesn't really count because of the controversy game against Virginia.
Right.
So that 1 doesn't really even count. So technically, we should have been 19-0 when we're fully healthy. But I had to go on my little rant. I mean, I was like, come on, this right here has to be a wake-up call because we got disrespected from the coaching aspect as well as like Flip being the number second team all ACC. But who was the ACC MVP?
Isaiah Wong from Miami.
Isaiah Wong.
Yeah.
So Isaiah Wong was ACC MVP, but who was ACC tournament MVP?
That was Flip.
Flip.
Who I voted for. I voted for Flip. I voted on that panel.
Yeah. So ACC tournament MVP, Flip, who was all team, second team ACC, who was held scoreless, of the first game and wind up having a big statement game, 20-10 against Virginia this time. And like you said earlier, did not leave the doubt of anything that referee could be in the way of the game. We took control, especially late in the game. And it was great to watch this kind of be a full circle moment for us and actually, take this, banner.
The energy that you're expressing right now is prevalent in the Duke locker room. I can tell you for sure, having been there the 3 days in Greensboro and being around these guys, that, they know it. They know, Flip didn't make first team. Duke had no first team all ACC players, which hadn't happened in like 16 years. I mean, that's one thing.
Yeah.
I was on that voting panel. I voted for Flip first team. I mean, I did. I was surprised he didn't make it. I wasn't surprised Shire wasn't named coach of the year, but I was surprised he didn't get any votes. And obviously I didn't vote for him. Okay. But I talked about, I remember late in the year, I started talking to people about, Shire, maybe if they do something crazy, like win out the whole rest of the season, maybe he should get some votes for coach of the year. And then, Tony Bennett got 2, which I think ticked off a lot of people too. Like, how could he get 2? I mean, Jeff Capel, right? I mean, Capel and Kevin Keats were the top 2 vote getters. Capel, especially, I think that's who I voted for was Cape. So, but I agree with you that when you look at it now and you look at it even late in the year, the ballots were due, just so you know, by noon the next day after the last regular season game, and they sent them to you like about 5 days ahead of that, so you can start getting started on it. So some people started filling it out, and then Pitt lost their last 2 games, and I almost didn't vote for him just because of that, but I ended up doing it. But anyway, that's how the process works, and it is a little, Duke came on late, but when you look, the bottom line here is, when you look at the whole job that John Shire did this year, he's still doing an amazing job. And the way they started off kind of slow and had injuries, and we've all been through that on the podcast. We've broken that down in great detail. But when they're finally healthy, and here they are at the end of the regular season, they're playing incredible basketball, and nobody wants to play them in the NCAA tournament now. I know in Greensboro, everybody was talking like, other writers coming over to be like, man, you might be going to Houston. Like, look at this team, the way they're playing. Like, that's real, man. People are like, you better get ready for a long run.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, this team is finally clicking at the right time. We're finally healthy all together as a whole team at the right time. I mean, even during this tournament, if this is a telltale sign, the largest deficit that we had in the tournament was 2 points. 2 points. And then the time that we trailed was 4 minutes and 32 seconds. And then Duke winds up being the 22nd, time that we won the ACC tournament. But the fact that we're all playing well at the same time, which is great for us, I think I would like to get Whitehead involved a little bit more. We had Flip and Roach had 43 of the 59 points. We can't really rely on that every single time. But the fact that, especially late in the game, Roach was over here hitting big buckets for us. When we needed something to go in down the stretch, bucket. And then all of a sudden, Flip gets that steal, and then all goes down and dunks it.
Yeah.
I hear through the TV how loud it is in that Coliseum.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm hearing "Let's Go Duke" chants. You can feel the energy. It's seeping out of the actual TV. And I'm like, man, I wish I was there, because like literally you can feel and see the energy going on in the game.
They had, the crowd was like 19,000 and change, almost 20,000. And there were a lot of Virginia fans there too, don't get me wrong, but it was a majority Duke. It was, I'd say 60-40, maybe even, maybe 2/3 Duke fans that were there. And it was loud. It was really cool. I could see the players and Shire kind of looking around like, it's like Cameron West here, it's like just down the road, right?
Right.
And I think everybody hoped that when they won that game, they'd get to go back to Greensboro here in a few days for the NCAA tournament. That didn't work out. We're going to talk about that too. But as Duke's going to Orlando to play Oral Roberts to start, they're the 5th seed in the East region. But Duke had to come a long way to get back in this position, right? Because just a few weeks ago, we were looking at like maybe a 9 or a 10 seed.
Right.
With the way things were going, they really climbed up there fast to get up to the 5. And there was some talk that they made it to a 4, that maybe they would be the 5 or 4 in a region. Virginia dropped down to 5 since Duke beat them, and then also beat them last time too, right? So now that in hindsight we have both those games to compare, and watching that game and watching the semifinals, Miami's better than Virginia. Like we all talked about that on Press Row. That the championship game was Friday night.
I believe so. Yeah.
Miami really pushed. They shoot the ball well. And I know Virginia does play great defense. Don't get me wrong, but I never felt like Virginia was pushing Duke very much. It felt like Duke got the lead, and they never, Miami made those harsh runs, right? Make a couple 3-pointers, get down to 1 point. Duke had to respond. Virginia never really did that, like Miami did. I didn't feel like they had the same pressure. I don't know what you thought about that, but I thought Miami was clearly the better team of the two.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. Every time we try to create some kind of separation, it seemed like, between one of the three guards, they were always making some kind of big transition 3-point shot. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. Like, we couldn't really get, past that hump. But for the Virginia game, it was like we were both playing really good defense, and yet we weren't really scoring like we were doing the last two games. So I'm like, all right, well, it's a third game in 3 days, so we're a little bit tired. Our legs might not be underneath us, but our defense stayed consistent, and that helped us out. Where if we're not scoring like that, they can't score like that, and that was saving us. Where we were kind of, getting them one shot and out, and then come back on defense. And if we don't make a shot, come back on offense, we don't make a shot, we stopping them on defense again until we get a shot. And then all of a sudden we start building that lead. And, it seems like, Virginia never really gets blown out. So a 10-point game against Virginia, it might be like a 20-point game against somebody else. That's the crazy part right there. Yep. But we were steadily, kind of like, just kind of chipping away at, building that lead up. And with Virginia, they use a large amount of the shot clock every time they kind of run their plays. So I'm like, well, this could bode well for us, because if they having a hard time scoring and we have a 4 or 5 point lead, go ahead, eat up that clock, get one shot and let's get it stopped, and then let's go the other way. I mean, it's helping us out. So I was glad that happened, because even though it came down, I think they kind of did they cut it to like what, 3 or something like that?
They got down to 4 at one point in the last minute. It was never a one possession game. Yeah.
Cut it down to 4. So it's like, okay, it could be something different. But then, big shot, Jeremy Roach. He comes in and he's making this shot, and I was like, okay, good. We can relax. We can, get a little bit of breathing room. Just, keep our defense up.
Yeah. Roach had 19 of his 23 points in the second half. Just a tremendous. He was almost the MVP of the tournament too. He was, in fact, again, conversations on press row during the game. There was some talk about that, like, is it Flip or is it Roach? And I mean, Flip had such a great tournament. Nobody denies he was worthy of it. But the way, Roach, and especially, again, we had to turn our ballots in with 5 minutes to go in the game, just so you know how that works. It's electronic, but and you have to pick one from each team in case Virginia came back and won, so Virginia would get it. But so I put in Filipowski, and then of course Roach had all those points down the, he made the 3-pointer, he made the free throws. I mean, he was just, clutch play. So he was worthy of it too, and he got, he got all tournament team and all that. But the biggest point here is he's back to what he looked like last March during that run to the Final Four. He played like this. He made the All West Region team in the tournament last year. He made some big shots against Michigan State and Texas Tech in particular. The Arkansas game was kind of a blowout, remember, but he played really well in that. And so he's back to where he needs to be to help this team. And that's a huge thing to have him on the perimeter and Flip inside. And boy, it just looks like they've got it all together, and it's hard to see. And again, we're going to talk about Oral Roberts here. They're playing Oral Roberts, who's 30-4. They've won 17 games in a row. Duke's won 9 in a row. They've won 17 in a row. All their losses came to team. Well, I'll get to that. But anyway, Duke's got it all together. I'm saying, I don't care who they're playing. They're going to be favored. They're favored by 6 or 7 points already against Oral Roberts. And then the next round, they might play Tennessee. But anyway, Duke's got it all going. And I just, it's really like we've seen this grow. And each game, it seems like they do something else even better than they did the last game. And so now here we are in March, and they got to, write yourself and go at it again, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even look at the second round potential matchup. I was kind of looking at the full circle, the moment that we could have with Purdue.
That'd be the third round.
When we played against them in Portland,
right?
I didn't even look at the second round. But with Oral Roberts, I didn't know they won 17 in a row. I know they won a win streak, but I didn't know it was 17 in a row in a winning streak. That type thing. But with Roach, the way he's playing right now, it reminds me of how he played late in the game, late in the season, especially through that stretch. Going to the Final Four last year. He did kind of make me mad after he hit those back-to-back shots. Hit the front of the rim and goes in, and then all of a sudden he has back-to-back turnovers. I'm like, oh, come on! One of them was on a fast break. All he did was throw the ball up, and I think it was flip. Yeah, I think it was flip coming in for a dunk. Whatever. I was like, you could not mess this up, and he messed it up. I was like, oh my goodness! And then we came back down again and had another turnover. So I was like, we don't need this. We've been good. And then our turnovers. I think we wound up having 10 last night.
Which is way better than
last time. Yeah. So way better than the last time, because I think last time we had like 22 or something crazy like that, whatever.
Yeah.
And then we turned them over as well, because they don't really turn the ball over like that, and we want to turn them over as well. But with him coming back down and making those shots down the stretch, it kind of wiped away his kind of back-to-back, turnovers. So I was like, all right, now we back, to being ourselves again. And then all of a sudden, 40 seconds left. He had a situation where he could have threw the ball to Lively, which was wide open by the basket, for a dunk. But he made the executive play of, I'm gonna go ahead and hold his own on the ball for a little bit, run some more, clock out, and then make them foul me, because I'm a better free throw shooter, and it's going to be 2 points regardless, but yet 2 points with lesser time on the clock.
Right, and that was the whole thing last night, was about kind of like like a boa constrictor, like sucking the life out of them, like shrinking them and suffocating them and using up the clock. Even if you don't score, using up the clock, but if you do that and get points, even one free throw would help, kind of keep them at bay. And earlier you mentioned Whitehead, and he didn't have as good offensive game last night as he did in some other games. And at first he came in and he missed a shot, had a turnover, then committed a foul. It was like boom, boom, boom. Like, okay, Derek, man, you got to get it together here. It's, I know what happens in championship game here, man. Right. But then he got active on defense after that. I did notice.
He did.
You mentioned some of the steals, right?
Yeah, he did. He did. You probably wasn't able to see it, but they had a screenshot of him, the little commercial before they go into the real commercial, and he's guarding somebody, but he's smiling in his face. He kind of like, yeah, I got you, type thing and everything. So he was locked in the game. It's just that some reason his offense is not being like that, lately. And I thought he kind of broke out of that when he had, was it 12 points? Or was it against Miami, or I can't remember what game that was.
In the tournament, he played well against Miami.
Yeah. So I think he had like 12 points against. No, actually, I think it was more than 12. But he had a good game against Miami, and the fact that I thought, he broke out of that, the little stretch where he kind of had like maybe a scoring slump or whatever it is, and then that happened again, for Virginia. So I'm hoping that he kind of gets some renewed energy coming into the tournament, because we really need to score, because we can't rely on two guys to score 43 points a game, and we're only scoring 59 points as a team total.
Right.
Unless we're going to sit here and be locking down everybody else, and they can't score more than 58 points a game.
Yeah, so that's hard to do. I did just look it up. He had 16 against Miami. You were right. Okay. Yeah, he played really well. That was a strong game for him. And and you're right. Like a third game in 3 days. First time they've had to do that this year, because they had in Portland, they played back-to-back days, had a day off, and then played Purdue. That was a little different. They had 1 day. Both teams were playing their third game in 3 days in the championship game, and they did look tired down the stretch. I think Tony Bennett even said, we were trying to fight from behind the whole game, and you're just going to miss shots when your legs aren't there, right? I mean, that's just how it goes in the third game. You gotta find a different way to score or whatever. But Whitehead's going to be key. In fact, I did a quick little breakdown. I've already posted it up on the website about like who might have big games for Duke, who might make the difference against Oral Roberts. And I picked Whitehead and Mitchell because Oral Roberts has a really good guard named Max Abmas. It's Abmas, Abmas. And he played really well 2 years ago when they went to the Sweet 16. He's back. He's averaging 22 points a game. Really strong player. So the guards, like Proctor's probably going to be on him. That's going to take a lot of energy for him to guard him and everything. So he may not be able to contribute as much scoring on offense. Oral Roberts has a 7'5" center. So Flip and Lively are going to have some work to do in there. They're big, of course, but 7'5", right?
I mean, shoot, it reminds me of the Purdue game, I guess.
Yes, Edey. Yes,
Edey. I don't know how tall was he. 7'4". I'm not sure how tall he was.
7'4". Yeah,
7'4". So Hey, hopefully it's great preparation for us. We go against Edie in a couple of games.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they had 7'5" guy on the team.
Yes. His name's Connor Vanover.
Vanover. So I
Yeah.
haven't had a chance to look at him. So hopefully I get a chance to kind of go on YouTube and look at him. I'm not sure if he's mobile or like an Edie is, or I'm not sure what kind of player he is. So I would go on YouTube and kind of see it, since now the brackets came out and where we placed that and everything.
Yeah.
I just thought we did enough to stay in Greensboro and be right there in Greensboro, but
Yes.
apparently they saw fit to go take us to Orlando instead.
Then Kentucky and Tennessee are the teams in the higher seeded teams in Greensboro, which we were talking off air before the thing started. I didn't even think about that as a possibility. We were all thinking Virginia was going to be there for sure, and probably Tennessee. We did think Tennessee because they were close, but Kentucky came out of nowhere. I really didn't see that. Committee ended up sending Virginia and Duke to Orlando. So different guy in charge this year. The head of the committee is Chris Reynolds, the AD at Bradley in Illinois. Okay. He played for Indiana. He played on one of their Final Four teams for Coach Knight in the 90s. So anyway, he's in charge. They did something different.
If that's the case, then where did he put Indiana at? I didn't check them out.
I think they might be in Albany, I think.
Oh, okay.
That's off the top of my head. I guess I should look at it before I say it.
A good seeding. See
exactly. Exactly. Now his school, Bradley, lost in the Missouri Valley final to Drake. Okay. So I know that because I went to a Valley school myself, so I kind of watched that a little bit. But okay. Anyway, yes. So So Duke's path. They start with Oral Roberts, and we'll have another episode before the game to talk about them a little more. But just a quick look at the regional. Duke has ORU in the first round, the 5-12 game, which is always when you pick upsets on a lot, right? That'll be popular. Right. And then if they win, Tennessee's playing Louisiana. That's a 4-13 game there. And Tennessee's not played great of late. They haven't been as well, playing as well.
Especially losing the guard with the ACL tear. A couple of games ago.
Right.
So
they're kind of vulnerable.
Yeah. So that could be a team that's going to be. You don't know what you're going to get. You might get a really good game, you might not. So,
right.
Like you said, they haven't been playing well. I think they got upset in their tournament as well.
They did, yeah. They didn't make it to the finals.
Was it Texas A&M?
They lost it because A&M ended up playing Alabama.
Yeah.
And A&M has Henry Coleman, formerly of Duke 2 years ago. He transferred out. Now he's starting for them, and they're in the tournament. So we'll watch out for him as well. But, so a lot of talk there about SEC. But Tennessee's not playing as well as they were early in the year because they're not as strong. So it may, there's a path for the way Duke's playing right now. They could play with just about anybody. I think. I don't think I'm going too far saying that.
No, I mean you're right. I mean, like I said, we're on a 9-game win streak. We're 18-1 when we're fully healthy. I don't think that's out of the realm of us, looking into, further down into the tournament and not be, so-called biased by it, because just that's how unbelievably well we're playing right now. I think that'd be something that might be a really, really good chance of seeing, because I'm looking at the bracket right now, getting past Purdue, and then having a matchup potentially with Alabama, number 1 Alabama.
Yeah. That would be that's down the road too. So we'll see. It's the fun time of year, man.
It definitely is.
Everybody's gonna fill their brackets out, all that kind of stuff. We'll see what happens. But anyway, we will we're gonna have another episode before. So the game, Duke plays Thursday night at 7:10 is the time. That's on CBS is going to televise it, so that should be easy for everybody to find. Their local CBS affiliate. They're playing down in Orlando at the Amway Center, which is where the Magic play. So it's going to be a great atmosphere down there for NCAA tournament in Disney World land, right down in Mickey Mouse land.
The Disney Wild World of Sports. Yep. I didn't count it. Did you count how many teams the ACC got in?
5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It's like last year. 5 teams.
5 teams. I thought we were gonna get 6. I thought maybe Clemson got in over Nevada, but I see they didn't do that.
They had the last 4 out was Carolina and Clemson were among the last 4 out.
Yeah, yeah.
Which we thought Carolina wasn't going to make it. Given
I knew about Carolina, but I thought Clemson
yeah,
had a chance to kind of
they
sneak in the
they
playing game.
did. They had those bad losses in non-conference and couldn't really make up for it in conference. So once again, the ACC is only having 5 teams. That's low, low number.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, in the Elite Eight, we had what 3 last year in the Elite
Yep,
Eight and 2 in the Final Four. So,
that's right.
yeah.
Jeff Capel's Pitt team's going to the first 4 at Dayton, so
Okay.
they have to win. They'll have to win an extra game, to kind of go to the whole bracket. But they are in the tournament. They're playing Mississippi State. Speaking of the SEC, so we wish good luck to Cape and the Pitt Panthers.
Is that not surprising that he's in the first 4?
It's a little bit surprising. Yes,
I thought he did enough to not be in a playing game.
I thought so too. But then after they lost so badly, Duke beat them by 27, and then the same night in the quarterfinals, NC State got whipped up by Clemson, and so I started hearing some rumblings like they may be kind of dropping a little bit because those are pretty ugly losses, and they dropped in the net some. So I was I thought either State or Pitt could be in Dayton. It's a good thing both of them weren't, because State's going to Denver and they're the 11th seed.
Okay.
So that's what's going on there. And then Miami and Virginia are the other 2.
Okay.
Which are both 4 seeds, I think. Yeah. Or Miami's a 5 seed and Virginia's a 4 seed. So that'll be it. So yeah, the ACC is going to have to come from behind again, kind of like last year. Small number of teams, but they're going to have to do damage.
Yeah.
To restore the roar for the conference, right?
You're right about that. So hopefully they can do it. But this is the great time of the year right now. Like March Madness is finally here. We talked about it throughout the whole journey of this season. And now we're here. This is what you played for.
Absolutely right. It's time to do it. So anyway, thanks for Bet Online for sponsoring the Believe in Duke podcast. Appreciate all of our regular listeners. The numbers are growing. The listeners, we appreciate you. Tell your friends. The best Duke information is right here. Me and Sheldon got you covered. So
right. And tell your friends.
That's right. Tell them all. Get your Apple podcast fired up, whatever your podcast provider is. But we know Apple's really popular. Everybody's got them. So we love that. Anyway, so we're gonna have another episode before the game. We'll get that up later on this week. We'll go a little more in depth. We talked a little bit about Oral Roberts tonight. But just remember, 30-4, they're not a pushover. It's gonna be a tough game for Duke.
And a 7-5 guy.
That's going to be reminds me of Taco Fall in Central Florida a couple years ago. Remember?
Yeah.
Johnny Dawkins had that guy.
That was a good game too.
That was a good game. That was scary, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, thanks everybody for listening. Appreciate you, and we will join you on the next episode before Duke plays Oral Roberts at the NCAA tournament.
All right, let's go Duke.